Welcome to the deep dive. We're diving into demand planning today. We've got some great resources for this one. One's from like a business education viewpoint, and the other's kind of more from the tech side.
Cool.
Yeah, should be fun. Demand planning. I don't think people think it's just about guessing how much stuff people will buy, but
Right.
it's a lot more interesting than that.
It really is. Yeah, you don't always think about it. But demand planning is always there, kind of behind the scenes, but it shapes our experiences,
Yeah.
as consumers.
Yeah. And when you think about it, like how many times have you gone to buy something, like a specific product,
Uh-huh.
and it's sold out everywhere?
Oh, yeah. All the time. That's so frustrating.
That frustration is very often a demand planning issue.
Exactly. Demand planning is basically all about predicting future demand to make sure that businesses can meet customer needs effectively, right? But it's not just about those stockouts either. It goes deeper. It also impacts pricing strategies, like how much things cost and when companies decide to launch new products, and even how efficient the whole supply chain is. You know how things get from A to Z?
Okay, yeah, it's way bigger than I was thinking.
Yeah.
But why is it so complicated? I mean, it just sounds like you look at past sales and make a guess.
Yeah, that's part of it. Historical data is really important. But that's only one piece of the puzzle. The thing that makes it really complicated is all the other stuff. You got to look at market trends, seasonality, what's going on with competitors, and then there are those random things, unpredictable events, like if customers suddenly change their buying habits or there's global supply chain issues.
Okay, so how do companies deal with all of that? Where do they even start?
They usually start with data. Got to gather it, analyze it. This data comes from everywhere, like point of sale data, inventory levels, website traffic, even stuff from social media trends and macroeconomic indicators.
So they're really trying to get the full picture.
Yeah, they need to get a good view of all the historical demand patterns and spot anything that might influence demand in the future.
Sounds like a giant data puzzle. Then what?
That's where the statistics come in. Demand planners use all kinds of forecasting techniques, time series analysis, regression models, even machine learning now to find trends and seasonality and other patterns in the data.
Hold on, algorithms. Now we're getting fancy. What kind of algorithms are they using?
There are tons of algorithms out there, everything from simple stuff like moving averages to more complex things like ARIMA models. Those can account for seasonality and trends. And more companies are using these machine learning algorithms because they can take in massive data sets and see really subtle patterns that humans might miss.
So it's getting more sophisticated, more data-driven.
Absolutely. And the choice of which algorithm to use, well, that depends on the type of data that they have, the time frame for the forecast, and how accurate they need it to be.
So not a one-size-fits-all approach.
No, definitely an art and a science to using the right tools for the job.
Yeah, but even with the best algorithm, I mean, it seems like there's still a lot of room for error, right?
Yeah, you're right. And that leads us to one of the trickiest parts of demand planning. The bullwhip effect. That's when you have these small changes in customer demand at the store level, but as that moves up the supply chain, it gets amplified and causes these huge disruptions for manufacturers and suppliers.
Okay, bullwhip effect. That sounds kind of scary. What's a real-world example?
Okay, imagine a retailer sees a small increase in demand for something.
Yeah.
Maybe because they had a little promotion or something trendy popped up on social media.
Yeah, okay.
So they order a bit more from their supplier because they don't want to run out.
Seems reasonable. So what's the problem?
Well, the supplier sees this larger order and thinks, oh, there must be a bigger shift happening than there actually is. So they increase production way more than they need to. Then, if people don't actually buy that much, the supplier is stuck with a ton of extra stuff.
Oh, so it's like this chain reaction of everyone overreacting and messing up the whole supply chain.
Exactly. And this can lead to wasted resources, costs going up, and even shortages later on if companies try to fix it by going in the other direction.
Okay, this is getting scary. Is there any way to stop this bullwhip effect?
There are, and we're going to get into those strategies in the next part. But for now, let's pause here.
Great. And if you like what you're hearing and are enjoying this deep dive into demand planning, we encourage you to subscribe to Mind Mosaic. Your support as an emerging channel really means a lot to us. We really appreciate your engagement as we keep exploring these cool topics. We'll be right back to continue our exploration of demand planning.
Welcome back. Before we took a break, we were talking about the bullwhip effect.
Yeah, that ripple effect sounds like it could really hurt a business.
It can.
So how do companies stop those ripples from turning into tsunamis?
One important thing is to make their forecasts more accurate. The better they can predict the actual demand, the less likely they'll overreact to small changes.
That makes sense. But how do they make those forecasts better? Do they just use even more data?
Well, more data can help, for
Yeah.
sure, when we're talking about AI and machine learning. But it's also about using the right forecasting methods and making sure the data is good and relevant. Remember those algorithms we talked about? They need good data to give good results.
Right. Garbage in, garbage out. So data quality, not just quantity. What else can companies do?
Communication is key. Everyone in the supply chain needs to be talking to each other, openly and often. Sharing information in real time about inventory levels, sales trends, and possible problems can help everyone make smarter decisions together.
So it's like a team sport.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to be on the same page and know the game plan.
Exactly.
But I bet that's hard when you're dealing with a bunch of different companies, each with their own systems and priorities.
For sure. And that's where technology can help. One of our sources talked about how important enterprise resource planning systems are.
ERPs.
Yeah, ERPs. For good demand planning. These systems can bring all the data together, automate tasks, and come up with more reliable forecasts.
Okay, ERPs. I'm not super familiar with those.
Yeah, so basically imagine this huge software system that helps a company manage everything, from inventory and finances to sales and customer relationships.
Wow. So everything.
Pretty much. That's what an ERP does. And inside that system, there are special parts just for demand planning, which can be a lifesaver for companies that are struggling with data silos and having to do things manually.
So it's like mission control for all the information related to demand planning.
Yeah, exactly. And with the right ERP, companies can get a much clearer picture of what their demand looks like and make smarter decisions.
Okay, so better forecasting, better communication, and better technology.
Right.
Any other tricks when it comes to stopping the bullwhip effect?
One strategy that's becoming more popular is to take a demand-driven approach to supply chain management.
Okay.
That means shifting away from the old push-based systems, where they make stuff based on forecasts, and instead moving towards a pull-based system where they wait for an actual order from a customer before they start making anything.
Oh, so instead of just making a ton of stuff and hoping it sells, you're waiting for someone to actually buy it.
Exactly.
And then making only what they need.
Right. This helps reduce waste, keeps inventory costs down, and makes the whole supply chain more responsive.
Less guessing, less overproduction. And hopefully, less bullwhip. Sounds like a win for everyone. But I guess that means companies have to change how they do things.
Yeah, for sure. It requires a lot of cooperation with suppliers. Knowing exactly how much inventory you have at any given time, and being willing to be more agile and flexible. But for companies that can do it, the benefits are big.
So we've talked about the bullwhip effect and how to stop it. But our source also talked about how technology is going to change demand planning. What's coming up in the future?
AI and machine learning are becoming really important. They can look at tons of data from different places, like social media weather patterns, and even what your competitors are doing.
Sounds like they have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, it's a lot of data.
So what do they do with all that information?
They use it to find patterns and connections that humans might not see. And that leads to better forecasts. It's like having this super analyst that can process numbers super fast and make predictions in the blink of an eye.
So they're not just predicting how much people will buy, they're also figuring out why they're buying it.
Right. And what might make them change their minds later.
Wow.
And these technologies are only getting better. We're going to see even more powerful insights and predictions. Imagine knowing what customers are going to do before they even do it, so companies can adjust their production and inventory in advance.
It's like having a crystal ball. That would be incredible for businesses.
Absolutely. They could be more efficient, waste less, and make sure customers get what they want when they want it.
This has been really interesting. I never realized how important demand planning is.
Me too.
Not just for businesses, but for all of us as customers.
It's a field that never stops changing, and it's exciting to think about what's coming next.
We've covered a lot of ground in this part, from dealing with the bullwhip effect to looking at the future of demand planning with AI. But let's pause here to go over some key takeaways for our listeners. We'll be right back to wrap things up. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been exploring this super interesting world of demand planning, from the data and algorithms to the challenges and all this cool new technology.
Yeah, it's definitely a field that doesn't get enough attention, but it really shapes our lives as consumers in a lot of ways.
For sure. So before we wrap up, let's go over a few key takeaways for our listeners. What are the most important things people should remember about demand planning?
Well, I think the biggest one is demand planning isn't just about guessing. It's a whole process. It takes strategy, analyzing data, understanding the market, and working together across the supply chain.
Right. It's about using data and insights to make good decisions, not just hoping for the best.
Exactly. And another important thing is demand planning affects everyone. It's not just about businesses. As consumers, we see the results of good or bad demand planning every day.
Hmm.
Whether it's products being available or the prices or even how successful new products are.
So true. Now I'll be thinking about demand planning every time I see an empty shelf at the store
Yeah.
or a flash sale.
And last but not least, we have to remember technology is changing everything about demand planning. AI, machine learning, real-time data, it's giving companies so much power to predict and react to changes in demand.
It's crazy to think about all the potential. More efficient supply chains, better experiences for customers.
Definitely. And as these technologies keep evolving, it's going to be fascinating to see how they shape the way we buy and sell things in the future.
This deep dive has been amazing. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of demand planning.
Me too. It's a field that's always moving forward, and it's been great exploring it with you today.
A huge thank you to our expert for sharing their knowledge with us. And to all our listeners out there, if you like this deep dive, we'd love for you to subscribe to Mind Mosaic for more deep dives into fascinating topics. Your support means the world to us as we're still a new channel.
We're so passionate about making these complex topics easy to understand and interesting for everyone. We really believe that knowledge is power.
So next time you're shopping online or at the store, think about the world of demand planning, working behind the scenes. It's pretty cool stuff. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll see you next time.